The following is an excerpt from the Earth Station Trek podcast. We're just a group of friends who enjoy talking about Star Trek. You can find our podcast called Earth Station Trek on any podcasting platform, or you can join our Facebook group and jump into the conversation. Let us know what you think.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! This is not a drill!
All right, guys, we have a new Star Trek series this week.
Yay!
Anybody want to jump out with an opinion of the premiere of Star Trek Prodigy, Lost and Founds Part 1 and 2?
The animation reminded me of some of the newer Star Wars cartoons. The style and the way like the hair flowed, especially the main dude and Gwen, and I'm forgetting the
Doll and Gwen.
Doll.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two particularly reminded me of like Star Wars aliens.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful looking series. They caught me off guard when it first started, and I didn't know what I was looking at. And I thought it was some kind of weird opening sequence, and then it turned out it was that mineral that they were mining.
Yeah,
the whole screen was some of the oranges stuff like that. And like, what in the world is going on? I thought that was an interesting open. It was nothing like I expected, and that's not a good or bad. I have purposely read almost nothing about it. And so I literally just went, I was blind going in. I knew nothing. I didn't know who was going to be featured. Nothing at all. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it becoming even more Star Trek-y as it goes along. I think,
yes.
And not just the style, but I thought there was a lot of Star Wars-y things in this one as well, which, that happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to them to, getting out there and being on a space adventure and less with the Sith Lords and things.
Right. Well, and I think that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I have been saying for years and years and years and years that Star Trek, and I've mentioned it on the show before, Star Trek has not had something that's the equivalent of Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
That's appealing to that audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with seeing some of those visual cues, some of that visual style in this first two-parter.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, because I think that's a nice bridge from what people are looking for and have found with Star Wars, and will help that crossover into this new property.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely got a feeling that it's geared toward younger kids. It definitely had for me a tone, and that's not a bad thing either. But I definitely got a kind of a feeling. You could tell that was a little bit, maybe because you guys are saying the Star Wars aesthetics to it. Because I don't watch a lot of Star Wars, have nothing against it, but I haven't really watched any of the Star Wars Rebels or the Clone Wars, any of that stuff. So, but it did skew a little younger to me than say Lower Decks, of course.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Of course.
Well, I mean, come on.
But you mentioned the Star Wars aesthetic. The dude whose name I wrote down, and I forget the robot. He reminds me Dreadnought, and he reminds me of what was the guy whose heart was crushed in Star Wars? Who
General Grievous.
General Grievous. He reminded me of him so
Yes.
much. I thought, wow, he looks straight out of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And Gwen's father is very Emperor.
Very.
You can
especially that last thing that you see of him.
Right.
Yeah.
After you think the episode is over.
Well, and two, when she enters his evil lair and kneels before him, and she's got General Grievous there behind him, and but also, I mean, like Keith was saying, you can tell it's written for a younger crowd, and not in a bad way, but sort of things like they'll say something then immediately explain what that means. I'm non-corporeal, which means I'm an energy creature.
Right.
And things like that, which I don't think is bad, but it's clear that they're making it accessible for a younger audience.
Well, but at the same time, it's been an awful long time since the Medusans have been on screen. Yeah. So that explanation works for anybody who's watching, who's not seen a particular episode of the original series.
Sure.
Also, if they don't know like what non-corporeal means, which
no, that's what I mean. That's how they explain it.
You know what? There might be a lot of adults that don't know what that is.
Right, exactly.
Not in this house.
No, not
No,
this.
that seems foreign to me. I knew what non-corporeal was when I was like 7, but then I was watching Star Trek when I was 7. So how could I not, right?
Yeah.
But even even today, I saw somebody post a comment about, being confused about the robot guy. So I think the non-corporeal, and it's a suit, basically.
Mhm.
I think it's a worthy explanation because, otherwise they just think it's a robot. And it's not a robot.
You're talking about the Medusan, Fugitive Zero. They were confused about whether he was a robot or not.
Didn't he literally say, "I'm not a robot"?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even though he said that, people, are still, but it could have been somebody who didn't watch the episode.
Yeah.
So you needed that explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these days too, I mean, you get a lot of people who are watching things on their phone or, things play in the car as you drive down the street. It's not,
else. Yeah.
Everyone doesn't, watch it 3 times in a day.
Like we do.
Yeah. Most people don't have as many notes as Keith has,
I know, right? Yeah, it's funny you say that. I can't. It's funny you say that. I can't do that thing where I'll watch if I'm doing errands or if I'm doing some stuff outside or chores. I will watch an episode of Voyager maybe on my phone, but it's something I've seen so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that's visually detailed, I got to put it on the television. So. I have to do that. Like this one, I think I watched the equivalent 3 times. So I kept rewinding because some of the colors are just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a couple of things too that they were talking about. I was still slightly confused how they found the ship so easily by crashing through something. And I'm confused why it was hidden. I got a little confused.
We're going to find out that stuff throughout the season. But the thing that is sort of like surprising is that, this the Emperor has been looking for this ship for however long and can't find it. And then these dudes like stumble on it. Yeah. Which always happens,
And he knew it was there because he even said, what do you think I've been mining for?
Exactly. He knows what he's looking for.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. Literally the ceiling collapses and they fall down and there it is in really good condition in a really big cavern on top of it.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to finding out how this ship got to the Delta Quadrant, why it's there, where its crew is.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot to find out over the next 8 episodes.
Oh yeah.
There was nothing but mystery here. We don't even know why the bad guy, what was his name? The Diviner? Was that what they called him?
Exactly.
Why he keeps kidnapping all these aliens from all over the quadrant. And
who's going to do his mining for him? He's not going to do it.
I guess. But,
well, it seemed like, his mining operation, he's got a bunch of humanoid slaves and then a bunch of robots to guard the humanoid slaves. It seems like it'd be simpler just to build robots to do the mining.
Robots.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the same thought. So that
less
was
trouble.
Weird.
Yeah. So you have to wonder how these aliens from all over, because you've got Alpha Quadrant folks involved, how these people are all coming across his path, to get captured and get enslaved. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah. And there's the whole mystery.
Hopefully the writers do.
Right.
I know, right? And there's the whole mystery of what is Dal-Rel? And I gotta swear I want to call him Daryl. It's so hard not to call him Daryl because Dal-Rel is hard to say. There's a whole mystery of what he is and who he is. Because Dreadnought even said, "What is your species?" And he basically says, "You tell me." I don't even know him either. Yeah. So I'm very curious about what that's all about.
Oh yeah, there's going to be an interesting backstory with that guy.
Yeah, I mean this is nothing but mystery, and the whole thing when he tells the girl who they kept calling Prodigy, basically said, "You are it." What is that all about? I mean, there was so much. And I had a really weird, funny thought. I made a note. I almost don't care where this thing goes. If this show manages to redeem the Kazon, I'm okay.
This one looked pretty good.
He did look pretty good, and he didn't seem like stupid and out of costumed out of the dollar store.
And the CGI hair looks so much better than real life hair.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want them to show up an awful lot.
Now, I did like the conceit that they don't allow translators, so you have this sort of Tower of Babel thing going on.
Exactly, I thought that was really neat. And that could be the whole reasoning behind capturing people from all these different places to put them to work.
Yeah.
Because if they can't communicate with each other, then they can't plot against him.
That's right. Yeah. Now, I wish they had held the reveal for Rocktack until the show. I mean, I know they have to announce that stuff, but that would have been a great reveal on the show.
Exactly.
That Rocktack isn't a big angry monster dude, is a little girl instead. And they had announced that months ago.
Right.
And announced the the actress who plays her and all that. So it wasn't a surprise to me. Now, maybe a kid watching it for the first time who doesn't have access to all that stuff would be blown away by the twist.
Exactly.
You know what? I was.
Oh,
I forgot. I literally forgot. And I stayed away from it this is crazy. I stayed away from it for so much. I forgot until you just said it that I had read that. So when her girl voice came out,
had a whole episode about it.
Yeah. I know. I'm telling you, I thought it was a dude.
You should listen to this podcast.
I expected her to do like Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four. It's clobbering time.
Yeah.
And then she comes out talking like this. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really fun when I went and watched it the second time. Like I was kind of trying to watch her, what she was saying, and think of how she was actually saying that, not how it sounded to Doll.
Yeah. And that's something we've seen before too with the Universal Translator back in Metamorphosis on the original series. Everyone they were surprised that the companion had a female voice, and Zephyr Cocker said, "Well, why did you give it a female voice?" And they're like, "I didn't." That's her voice. I like that part of the translator is adding that context of how they see themselves.
Speaking of translators, so we knew going into the show that Gwen is a translator, that she knows, tons and tons of languages and has a gift for linguistics. And so she's translating the meeting with the Kazon. And after the thing is over with, she says, I don't know why my father has me, do all this negotiating with you when you are programmed to translate. And he says, have faith. Your father has a plan for you or whatever. That's an interesting angle. That's not one that I would have. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't see that, being, I don't know, that caught me by surprise.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to, I also didn't understand what that was all about.
Yeah.
At one point, before you first think about it, you thought that he was the master and she was the servant almost, until you realize she's the progeny of the father, the diviner.
Yeah. Well, the diviner's preparing her for something, and I don't know if we know quite what yet.
Well, at the very last thing you see, by the way, we're going to have spoilers all throughout this discussion, just in case you know. But in that very last scene, he looks like he's, on the verge of death. He's prepping her to take over for him.
Yeah.
But he also says they are the last two of their kind. So once he's gone, she's it, man. So she's going to inherit the entire operation and the legacy of their race and everything. So, she is going to be as important to him to get back as whatever reason he's looking for this ship. So it's not just like a controlling father who wants his daughter back. This is the future of their people. Yeah.
And I wonder if the whole operation is this one crappy asteroid, or if there's more to it.
Right.
What were you saying, Veronica?
Their person, because even if she mates and creates a whole family, they're not going to be the same race.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, assuming that they mate, we don't know how she's.
Oh, that's true. They may asexually reproduce.
Yeah, there's no telling. They had a lot of vats and things going on.
Well, if we're going to take the Star Wars thing, he reminds you of an old Emperor Palpatine. Maybe there's a bunch of clones they could just roll out.
That could be.
That's true. That's one way to do it.
Cloning is how the Asgard reproduce.
Yeah. Stargate.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking mythology and or Marvel, and I was like, I'm not aware of that. I don't know. I didn't know Thor was all into that. But.
Or those people in that Next Generation episode with the goofy one where there was the Irish planet and the other planet where everybody cloned themselves.
Don't bring that up.
That's a fun one, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Medusan was really important to him. Was the Medusan important to him only because he can zap people when they look at him, or is there a deeper purpose for Fugitive Zero?
He says he has a purpose for the Medusan.
Yeah. And we know Medusans are big into navigating in higher dimensions and things like that.
Right.
So now a fast ship and somebody to steer it, huh?
I guess so. Yeah. We don't know exactly how this ship works, how it wound up in the middle of an asteroid in the Delta Quadrant, but from the credit sequence, I almost said opening credit sequence, but here it was the closing credit sequence. It has some kind of interesting special drive. So it could be this ship operates in a way unlike other ships that we're familiar with.
Right.
Now, in watching Is There in Truth No Beauty, my impression was always that you needed a telepath to communicate with the Medusa, but not necessarily that the Medusans were telepathic. You know, you had Miranda Jones there to talk to Kolos, but he wasn't just talking to everybody. So it seems like a bit of a twist on the Medusans in this, that he said, "Oh, you're a Medusan. That means you're a telepath."
But then when they asked, didn't somebody ask Zero, "You're a telepath?" And he says, "Not exactly."
Actually, you know what? I rewound that. He was talking about Dal, because Dal made another observation, and then the what's the girl's name? Rock Talk. She looked at him and said, "Are you a telepath too?" And then the Medusan said, "Not exactly, but he has stumbled upon something that's important to us as ships." He was actually talking about Dal is not a telepath.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is a change, because you're right, Charles, because in the original series, it was Miranda who was a human telepath, which I think is rare, and Spock, of course, being a Vulcan, was a telepath, and that they were the ones who could communicate with him.
Yeah.
I did notice that the box that they showed him in initially was the exact same box.
It sure was.
Except it appeared to have a window.
Yeah.
He must have added that. He added that so he could zap people. I thought it was cool, and they showed that one guy that was chained, and they made him look at him, and then he turned into basically a zombie.
I like that Lurians show up.
Yes, absolutely. That's two shows. Wait, do we have Lurians in Lower Decks?
Yes.
So 3 shows now with Lurians.
Yeah.
Look at them coming up in the world.
I pretend that they're all Morn.
Yes.
The Adventures of Morn.
At Morn, he gets around.
That's right. He's got his hands in everything.
I thought the Cation was going to have more of a part in the show.
Yeah.
That's the little cat, Veronica.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because you had opinions about this cat.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I was very sad they left her behind. It was adorable, and she was waving to them all excited. I'm like, why didn't you bring the cat along with you? I mean, of course, Gwen, who actually knew she was the only one that knew she was there, was being coerced.
Yeah, sort of abducted.
Right.
Planet. Yeah,
So-
maybe they're going to go back for the cat. Maybe that's the big end of season thing.
I don't think they would have focused as much on the cat if the cat wasn't going to play a role somewhere down the line.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Look at this sweet little cat child. Well, she's trapped in the prison forever. Goodbye.
With nobody to talk to.
Dark show.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I expect to see more of this little cat. But it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the mix of Alpha Quadrant and Delta Quadrant races. I mean, you have a Kazon with a Cation showing up in this.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm interested where in the Delta Quadrant they are, or if they even maybe on towards the Alpha Quadrant side. You know, who knows?
Well, I guess it depends on how far Kazons have traveled throughout their own quadrant.
True.
Because Voyager started their journey like way on the far side of the Delta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we have to wonder if the Kazons have made it, as far as sort of like the Alpha side of, their space. I don't know.
Yeah. Or if there's some sort of, wormhole situation going on, or
yeah, exactly. I mean, if we have this many Alpha quadrants, and we don't know Dahl's race, Dahl could be from the Beta quadrant.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
what's Murph?
Yeah, what is Murph?
Yeah.
What is he?
I don't know.
I don't think we've even seen it.
Bag of spit.
Yeah, we haven't even seen an analog to him in Star Trek, have we?
No.
No.
We know that he's too smart for the translator, according to Rocktack.
Yeah.
And we know he can sit on the controls and
make things happen.
Manipulate them.
Yeah.
And make pew pew pew.
He somehow knew how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed to do it with purpose. I don't think it was an accident.
Maybe he's
that was a question I had.
Maybe he's like a Voyager gel pack, but like alive and sentient.
Maybe it's Odo.
Or Odo. Could be that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that would be funny. Yeah, that was the question I had. Did he activate this stuff by accident because he was blobbed all over it?
I don't think so.
No,
I
he
think
seemed
that
to
was
purposefully go over there. I mean, he was
he
going
dropped-
over there goofily, but
Right. He dropped down onto it with intent.
Mm,
I'm sure.
okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah. In the very end, you had hologram Janeway show up, which we didn't get a lot of her yet, but I'm excited to get more of her in the next episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The next one will be an awful lot of her, I think. It'll be an awful lot of introducing the ideas of Starfleet to these kids.
Yeah. And hopefully finding out more about the ship. And I mean, I'm not going to give away everything in this, but it's interesting that you have this super advanced ship that appears to have a training program on it. You know, you wouldn't imagine you'd have the super advanced ship with cadets on it, but maybe they were training something for a purpose, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
I found the ship pretty interesting. It looks visually very different from what we've seen of Star Trek ships. You know, you've got the sort of general layout, but like the chair is sort of wild looking, and the architecture is.
And the stairs.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's a smaller ship. You got stairs up into the bridge,
which I love.
It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I think that's better for an animated show than a turbo lift. You know.
Yeah, true.
Because you don't have to worry about the sets and everything.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
that's super true.
Yeah, some angles, it reminds me somewhat of Voyager in some ways, very slight ways. And I know that in the trailers and in the closing credits and stuff, they keep showing what looks like jets coming out of the nacelles themselves, as if they're rockets or something, instead of what they usually are, which is, you know, the point for the warp engines. I thought that was an interesting effect. And also I noticed at the end when you mentioned about the propulsion, I can't tell how much of this is just them playing it up, but when they first show the ship, there's a distortion of space. And I don't know if that's just how they're depicting warp, or again, if that's an indication that it's doing something else, or it's just part of the credits. I couldn't tell because I'm scrutinizing this thing 9 ways to Sunday to see what's different and special about it.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about that, if it has some special propulsion systems that they're experimenting with. Kind of like what's the episode? The Nth Degree, one of my favorite episodes from the Next Generation, one where Barclay becomes a super genius.
Yeah.
And they literally just folded space and went to the center of the galaxy. And one of them's even something like that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
No.
I refuse.
I was just going to say something stupid. So you go ahead.
I was say, yeah, at least from the credit sequence, it looks like it has 2 different drive systems.
It does, yes.
It sort of transforms into the second drive system, but we haven't seen that on the show proper yet to see, you know, whether, like you said, those trails behind the nacelle is just a stylization for the credits, or if that's going to be something in the show.
But it looked like, I mean, and that's what I thought initially, but it looked like there was like an actual like emitter of some kind at the back of the nacelle where that beam kind of thing was coming from.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think that it's like a secondary experimental propulsion thing, just like you were saying earlier. Yeah. And I know one of our friends on Facebook griped about it being vapor trails, and really vapor trails in space. But I don't think that's what it is. Either it's just a stylization for the credits, or it is an actual new, different propulsion system.
Vapor trails, was it Star Trek Beyond, where the Enterprise kind of left a vapor trail or a trail of dust and stuff, and it went in a warp? So maybe that they were thinking about something like that.
Well, the Enterprise had trails behind it at warp in the original series movies. You get the red and yellow, and
right.
You know, when it went to warp, it had warp trails behind it coming off the nacelles.
Right.
So
warp signature.
Who knows?
Exactly.
But it'll be interesting to find out. We didn't talk about Jangham Pog, our new Tellarite, who looks like he's just like Bebop from the Ninja Turtles.
He really is.
Yeah.
What franchise did they not steal ideas from for this show?
Right.
I hate to say that, but
yeah.
One of my favorite lines in the whole 2-episode thing was, I think it was Rock said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And he says, an increasingly stupid series of bad mistakes. Jankum Pog knows. I love that. I thought it was so cute.
Yeah. I think we've got a nice little collection of characters.
Yeah.
I really like it. I liked the way that they were all just these separate people, and the way that they were introduced, and the way that you saw things like the vacation and stuff like that. You didn't get a sense of which ones were going to become the main crew.
Yeah.
Except that we all knew because we read all the press releases and saw the videos.
Right. Yeah. But if you come into this cold,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have any idea that when Doll first meets Rock, that they're going to end up. It just looked like a big rock monster that growled.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You would not. I mean, there were other characters before that in the episode that don't play into any significance.
Yeah.
And it could have just been another one of those. I love the way that they sort of folded these characters in.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Rock, I love the way they kind of double down on her being a nice little girl, because her eyes are this beautiful kind of blue color, and they're so bright and kind of innocent looking. So they're really doubling down on, despite the rest of her bulk. At one point, she even said, "I'm big, not stupid," which I thought was
Yeah.
I like when she said, "Maybe I'm a telepath."
I know.
Yeah. So you gotta wonder, how old is she?
Yeah, how old is she? And also, in relation to her species, she could be 100 years old and be a juvenile Brakar. We don't know, but
Yeah. Because that means that dude's enslaving children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He took the cat kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, good point. That's a good point. So
Yeah.
he kind of doesn't care.
Yeah, they're all pretty much kids. The main characters, even Zero. We don't know how Medusans live to be, or what young for a non-corporeal life form is, but they seemed very inexperienced. Sort of things like, "Have you ever flown a ship?" Like, "Nope. Let's give it a shot."
I saw a comment on some Facebook post today that was basically, I've seen pretty much nothing but positive reactions to this thing.
Oh, good.
And I saw one comment that said, teaching kids diversity without ever using the word diversity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really neat angle to see this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Medusa made a point of saying that Future Zero said, "I'm not a he or a she." I thought that was an interesting point that was made as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick question. I wonder, we're talking about the hologram, because to your point, I'm wondering, will that hologram develop the intelligence of the Doctor and be someone that can start talking to? Because does the hologram Janeway have the history of what happened? Is the hologram Janeway going to start almost commanding the crew, and is she going to be like concerned that you got a Federation ship in the Delta Quadrant? There's a whole lot of stuff of how she's going to develop in the course of the series.
Well, and it depends on when the Janeway hologram was designed,
right?
And when Catherine actually, I don't know, filmed all the parts for it, or however they do it, I don't know. But yeah, and so how much knowledge it has built in, because it has the look of season 1 Janeway. So you would have to think that it was done before Voyager got lost.
Maybe. I mean,
maybe
if they were going to have a hologram Kirk training kids, you'd imagine it'd be original series Kirk, even though it's not the most up to date one they would have a record of.
Yeah. True.
So I don't know. Maybe you might be right.
I never thought about that. It's funny. I assumed it was Admiral Janeway who did it, and they just made it look young. But that's a good point. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, it could well be. And it could have all of her. I mean, and it may be installed on this ship because she has had more experience in the Delta Quadrant than anyone. And if this ship was sent specifically to the Delta Quadrant for some purpose, that's why she would be the one that's been involved in programming this thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it could not be that it was a ship full of cadets, but it's a ship full of people, and she's the training hologram because she knows the Delta Quadrant. So she was there to train them about the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
Good point. Which means she may know the mission, but she may not tell them at the start. Maybe they don't have security clearance or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she could have her own secrets.
Yeah.
It was interesting that she did not comment at all that none of them were in uniform, and she'd never seen any of those species before or any of that stuff. So it's like she didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Right.
It was strange.
It depends what level of awareness the program has.
Right.
And that's how I wonder if it'll be like the Doctor, because if originally all he ever did was please state the nature of the emergency, and then they left him on, and then he started gaining sentience over time.
True, but she already starts a little bit more with personality than that, and clearly she activates. She's like Clippy. She activates when someone asks for help. So they use the word help. She activates. And she's already, at least more conversational than the Doctor was when he began. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess so.
very curious about that. I'm very, very curious about where this is going to go, and I like I said, the whole show was one huge 2-episode setup, because to the point I loved it when they said what direction, of course, and he just looked out and he goes, "Wow, there's sure a lot of stars out there," and he doesn't even know what direction to go. I half expect him to do like Kirk said at the end of the movie, where he says "out there, that away" or something like that. But I thought that was kind of funny. So to your point, Alan, I'm not sure how close they are to the Alpha Quadrant, and what direction will they chat? Would they even want to go back to the Alpha Quadrant if they're not from there?
I mean, and if they did, they wouldn't know how to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Janeway will tell them all.
He seemed to have Dahl seemed to have a like knowledge of the outside. So it's like, don't you know at least a little something? I would think,
Maybe.
based on the way he was like trying to get out so much.
Mhm.
But I also don't know how long he'd been there. Maybe he'd been there since he was a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he has a memory of life before that prison, but not necessarily far enough back to know where he originated.
Right.
You know,
It's interesting to not know what race you are.
yeah.
Yeah. So it seems
That's a big piece of your identity that seems to be missing. So I'm really interested to not only find out who he is and what he is, but how that has gone missing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he referenced a specific grouping of stars as well when he was talking to Gwen.
Yes.
So I expect they're going to come across those stars at some point.
Oh yeah, that'll be the finale.
Yeah. Probably so.
The last thing that happens in the first season is going to be them discovering that.
Right before Captain Riker swoops in to save the day.
Interesting. I wonder if they'll ever bump into any. Well, I guess they can't. Well, I wonder if they bump into the other Federation ships that happen to be out there.
Well, we know that there's going to be Chakotay and his crew, Captain Chakotay, and these other characters that Jamil and David Diggs and
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's amazing, Keith. Okay, it is amazing that you are on the internet as much as you are, and you are a part of this show week after week, and that you stay as spoiler free. But now I see it's because you intentionally do not retain this stuff when we talk about it. I try to stay away from good talent.
I try to stay from it as much as possible. Like I remember I remember the thing about Chakotay, but I wasn't even putting those two together. And I have stayed away from this. I just really tried to stay away from all this stuff.
Yeah.
Veronica's like that about episodes she's already seen.
Yes.
That's true.
I did remember Chakotay. I didn't remember the guest cast, but I remember Chakotay was going to show up eventually.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, Veronica.
Right on.
Yeah, I thought this episode flew by. We were watching this morning when we got up, knowing that it was going to be a double length, and it got to the end and the credits, and I expected the next one to start. I was like, oh, I've already watched them both. Like that.
Oh, that's both. Yeah, I know it does.
Yeah.
It's very. It doesn't feel like 2 episodes. It's just like, and basically it's one story. So I need to go back and look and see where the divide will happen when it's split into 2 separate episodes.
And Veronica said this morning, maybe it's because I've become accustomed to watching Lower Decks because those episodes are so dense and so much stuff happens. The pacing in this was not nearly as frantic as the Lower Decks pace.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be interesting to see how it flows next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what did y'all think of the overall look of the show?
I think it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really pretty, and it's very clearly the animation style that kids are currently used to.
Yeah, but also it's just like lush and like super widescreen, and I mean, it looks like a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
It does. When they first saw the ship, even when the ship was just sitting in the cavern, some of the angles of the looks of the ship were just beautiful. And when they finally took off, it was almost breathtaking, honestly.
Okay, go ahead.
Awesome.
Even when they were just like had just first fallen into the cavern, and the look of the cavern itself was amazing.
Exactly. But when it falls down the ravine and then it raises back up, that was amazing. When it went through the waterfall and the water part, oh my God, that was gorgeous. I just keep thinking, Star Trek Discovery, you got to learn how to do ship porn from your animated brother and sister shows, because they are doing ship porn so well.
Yeah.
Man, they're designing amazing ships, but they're giving you good, like really good shots of the ships.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Come on, Discovery, you can do better.
Just give us some beauty shots every now and then.
Right, every once in a while. That's all I want.
Let you stop for a moment and appreciate how cool the ship is.
I mean, the thing about the episode where they finally discover the Federation in season 3, and they come through the invisible curtain barrier, and they see all these futuristic ships, and you just don't get a good look at any of them. You don't really get a great look at Voyager J. You don't get a good look at Nog's ship. I mean, there's so much to see. The big forest. Oh my gosh, there was so much to look at, and they just didn't. I mean, you don't want to spend the whole episode on it, but you can give me better shots than what we got.
Yeah. Lower Decks and Prodigy are doing fine with that. So yeah, hopefully the live action shows will catch up, because Picard was that way too. I mean, you never get a beauty shot of La Serena.
That's true. That is very true. Very true. I didn't care as much about that though.
All right, so it sounds like we're all pretty thumbs up.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it held my attention, and it's genuinely making me wonder what's coming next, because it was one huge major setup. So I just even want to know what direction they're going to take next and how they're going to start managing. I guess Janeway Hologram will help them run the ship, because I know the one guy said you need at least 20 people to run a ship like that. And
or 37 appendages.
The 37 appendages, right?
Wow, that's a lot of appendages.
If you've enjoyed this excerpt from the Earth Station Trek podcast, give our full show a listen. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the ESO Podcast Network. You can also find us on Instagram, on Twitter. We have a Facebook group called Earth Station Trek. Come join in the fun. We have a great time.